Mr. Thompson from ODPEM, Minister Arscott, Minister Faulkner, Minister Azan, and we also have, and want to welcome back Mr. Spooner from the Med Service. He was here with us last week. He's still doing the rain dance. Let's hear from Minister Faulkner as she updates us on some of the decisions from Cabinet.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning to our viewers on the PBCJ and to those joining us on the World Wide Web. And we again apologize for the late start. As Lincoln said, we have a special briefing this morning, and we are going to limit the number of decisions that we report on today that came out of the Cabinet, because we want to focus on the issue of disaster preparedness. Cabinet has approved amendments to the Cybercrimes Act and has issued the necessary drafting instructions to the Chief Parliamentary Council to amend the Act. Promulgated in March 2012, the Cybercrimes Act seeks to address computer-specific offenses such as unauthorized interceptions, unauthorized modifications of computer programs, and data and unauthorized access. With the increased use of various technological devices and tools to commit sophisticated criminal activities, there have been new challenges for the cybercrimes legislation and law enforcement agencies, necessitating the review. The proposed amendments are in keeping with the recommendation to periodically review the Act. Cabinet has approved the appointment of Ambassador Burchell Whiteman to the Council of the University of Technology. This arises from the secondment of Professor Errol Morrison to the Ministry of Science, Technology, Energy and Mining as Chairman for the National Commission on Science and Technology. Because of this, a vacancy has been created on the University Council. Ambassador Whiteman, who is currently acting president of UTech, will serve on the council until February 2015, when Professor Morrison's contract with UTech expires. Cabinet has approved the appointment of the Teachers' Appeal Tribunal. The members appointed are Mr. Wesley Barrett, who is the chairman, Mr. Hugh Faulkner, Mr. Woodburn Miller. The JTA was consulted on the appointments, and the tribunal will serve until 2015. Cabinet has approved the reappointment of Mr. Irwin Jones to chair the Board of Directors of Petrojam Limited. Other members reappointed to serve for another year are Mr. Chris Cargill, Mr. J.P. White, and Mr. Hugh Campbell. The members will serve to April 20, 2015. And as you are aware, Petrojam Limited was established in 1982. It is a limited liability company which is jointly owned by PDV Carib, a subsidiary of Petróleos de Venezuela and the Petroleum Corporation of Jamaica. The board comprises an equal number of Venezuelan and Jamaican directors, and we will announce the names of the additional members at a later time. Cabinet has approved the appointment of a 13-member board for e-learning Jamaica Company Limited. The board will be chaired by human rights activist Mrs. Yvonne McCalla-Sobers, and the deputy chairman is Dr. David McBean, and you may have the names of the other directors. And as you may know, e-learning Jamaica was established to implement e-learning projects in collaboration with government entities. E-learning Jamaica is now implementing a tablet in schools project to support teaching and learning in select pre-primary, primary and secondary schools. Cabinet has approved a new board for the Scientific Research Council. The board is chaired by Melissa Maraj, businesswoman, and the deputy chairman is Dr. Henry Lowe, and the board will serve until February 2016. And those are the briefs. I told you we were going to be very brief. And I will now first turn to the Minister of Local Government and Community Development, and he will give us a brief on the disaster preparedness of our nation.
Good morning. I would like first of all to say that Jamaica, as one of the small developing states, must deal with our own disaster risk and vulnerability. the Ministry of Local Government and Community Development, and through the Office of the UDPEM, has implemented and continues to implement a number of measures to bolster the nation's resilience in the event of a disaster. But I want to use this occasion to remind the citizens of Jamaica that preparedness is everybody's business. And so while we are doing our best to ensure that the country suffers minimal damage, in case of a disaster, I implore you to formulate your own contingency plan in order to safeguard yourself, your family, and your property. I'd like to say that most of our parish councils have already made arrangements to secure or have access to equipment in case of an emergency. Some councils have partnered with the National Works Agency, and some have made their own independent arrangements. As it relates to the National Emergency Stores, which UDPEM has responsibility for, the procurement of items and to keep it adequately supplied continues to be an ongoing activity. There has been an increase of the existing stock of particular items such as bedding, water storage containers, tarpaulins, and generators. The current stock will enable the organization to meet needs of 20,000 persons or 5,000 families if you assume 4 to a family. The store is also equipped to supply approximately 115 priority shelters, including the National Arena, with supplies if needed. It is recognized that this stock level is not adequate, but it is the best that we can do under the current circumstances. In terms of the Western Regional Warehouse Facility, which forms part of the National Emergency Stores, it has seen quite a substantial increase in the stock levels. This will serve as a hub for distributing supplies at the western end of the island in case of an emergency. The total items in the national stores value in excess of 100 million Jamaican dollars. The National Disaster Fund currently stands at $250 million, and we expect shortly that an additional 50 million from the consolidated fund will be added to boost that reserve. The fund makes it possible for Jamaica to access money and to facilitate mitigation and preparedness, and puts us in a position to rapidly respond to national disasters. In fact, I'm looking at trying to approach the Ministry of Finance with the view of trying to access a percent of the funds paid into the CRIF, and therefore to assist us to boost the National Disaster Fund. We have a bill, the disaster bill, which will seek to increase the fund further, and that bill is currently being worked on. The Emergency Operations Center, the EOC, as the National Disaster Emergency Operations Center, and Parish Emergency Operations Centers, which are responsible for emergency response coordination at the national and local level, is established in all parishes and are ready to be activated in the event of a disaster. UDPEM has, in partnership with other agencies, have developed an automated early warning system, and the bog gorge, which has been a problem to us for many years, is connected with CCTV and the cameras for real-time information, and to be notified to all the communities involved and actions to be taken. Currently, an SMS alert monitoring system for Bogwalk Gorge is in place, and through this system information is fed to UDPEM, NWA, WRA, and other stakeholders. It should also be noted that we are currently working on strengthening the Old Harbour Bay Community Early Warning System, with funding from Caribbean Emergency Disaster Management Agency. This is to do with tsunami early warning system. And we know, of course, Old Harbour is prone because of its elevation and its proximity to the sea. We have also introduced the specialized alerting early warning mechanism for persons with disabilities. And we're focusing mainly on the Portmore community. Alert FM, which is now available and ready for use among the disabled community, is a personal alert and messaging system. And this is what it is like. Currently, you'll have to purchase it, or those, but I hope that we can get it at a price that is reasonable. Significant progress has been realized in relation to the disabled community and their vulnerability to disasters. Working alongside the Combined Disabilities Association and Panos Caribbean, persons with disabilities as well as their caregivers have been sensitized and are currently more prepared to respond to the event of a disaster or an emergency as is announced. National Shelter Management Program is managed by the Jamaica Red Cross. They facilitate the training of shelter managers based on an MOU with UDPEM. All local authorities are involved, and also this is done in a collaboration with the Public Health Department and the Jamaica Fire Brigade. All priority shelters have been inspected, and there is ongoing monitoring of these facilities. The shelter program has also benefited from an injection of additional trained shelter management personnel. Recently training were held in June. I want to say something about oh yes, the Nago Head Primary School has been retrofitted as one of the emergency shelters in Portmore for better accommodation for persons with physical disability. Under initiative, it is now made wheelchair friendly for those who utilize a wheelchair. Drain cleaning program is an active program carried out by the local authorities from their parochial revenue fund, and traditionally May and November are the periods utilized for cleaning. That has already been done, but we intend to bolster the program by making available an additional $70 million to do priority drain cleaning across all local authorities. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Minister. And before I go to Ministers, and I just want to make a correction. The Cyber Crimes Act was actually promulgated in 2010 and not 2012. Minister Zan will say a few words just to give you a quick update. And after Minister Zan, I'm going to ask Mr. Spooner just to give us a quick update on the hurricane season, what is expected. Few minutes, and then we'll open the floor for questions. Minister Zan.
Good morning. The Ministry of Transport Works and Housing, through the NAA, each year we prepare for the hurricane season after the hurricane season is completed. And last year, we were able to complete a number of projects through the IDB and the NAA. River training work was done at Troy in Trelawney at a cost of $12 million. Gully work at Anshore in St. James at a cost of $20 million. We rehabilitate the road at Bogwalk to Santa Maria, St. Andrew and St. Catherine at a cost of over $500 million. Minister Ascott mentioned about the early warning system at Bogwalk Gorge, and additional work was done at Yalas, at the bridge in Yalas to protect the pier there that was exposed. We have an ongoing project of $50 million for drain cleaning, and that is about 45% completed. We're able to do gully protection at Maypen Cemetery, Sandy Park and Barnes Gully, and we are trying also that in the next 2 weeks some additional funding will be available to each member of parliament for drain cleaning island-wide.
Mr. Spooner, over to you, sir.
Thank you very much, Minister. Good morning, everybody. First of all, let me just indicate that there is no significant change in the prediction for the 2014 hurricane season. So the consensus prediction is for below average activities with respect to hurricanes, storms and major hurricanes during the 2014 Atlantic hurricane season. There is a 50% chance of below normal, a 40% chance of normal, and just 10% chance of above normal. In the July 1 updated prediction by the Colorado State University, they have increased the number of named storms from 9 to 10, and the number of hurricanes expected from 3 to 4. So what we're expecting for this season is really a 27% reduction in the number of named storms over normal activities, a 30% reduction, 33% reduction in named hurricanes, and a 63% reduction in major hurricanes for the 2014 hurricane season. The main reason for this is the entrenchment of the El Nino phenomena across the region, which is resulting in stronger wind shear. So therefore the developments are not expected to take place. The atmospheric conditions are becoming more and more stable, and the developments, the convective developments moving off the coast of Africa are significantly reduced during this hurricane season. Thank you very much.
Thank you. We now open the floor for questions. Balfour, welcome to our press briefing.
I just wanted to ask Mr. Arscott. He said that there's a fund of 250 million, plus there's 50 million from the consolidated fund. That's about 300 million. He said that is inadequate. Yeah. I was wondering if you had a budget and a figure that you felt would be ideal for this potential.
We don't have a budget, but it is estimated that to put Jamaica in a position to effectively respond to a major disaster, the country would need somewhere in the region of probably 50 billion Jamaican dollars. Yes. However, you're aware that the country has insurance coverage for the CRIF, and we have never been able to draw down from that fund because the parameters has never really been able to match what we have signed for or the kind of insurance that we have bought. However, that's the current status. As I said, the building bill, under the proposed building bill, we are looking at additional supplementary revenue source stream to boost this reserve.
So, there's some conditions that you have to meet before you can draw down on.
Yes, those are stipulated and set. I don't have them in front of me now, but those are clear. The set, there's a committee that administers it, and it's chaired by the Ministry of Finance. And the terms and conditions and the trigger for the drawdown are well established.
Anastasia? No, not Anastasia, sorry. Jeline. Morning, Jeline, sorry.
Getting a break from the drought we're currently experiencing.
As indicated, with the entrenchment of the El Nino phenomena, the projection is for below normal rainfall activities as well, especially during the wet months of October, November. That is when we're expected to get appreciable amount of rainfall, and the projections are that we are expecting below normal activities then. So and you asked about the drought. We're actually in our dry period now. July, August is the dry period. The drought conditions is that if we get 60% or less of normal rainfall, that's when it's classified as a drought. But what has been happening since second, third week of May, throughout the entire month of June, is that we have not been receiving any significant amount of rainfall. So the projection is that some parishes are expected to fall into drought conditions, and this is expected to continue until we get appreciable amount of rainfall, which is not in the near future, really.
Do we have any other questions? Mr. Abka.
Good morning. Abka Fitzhenley, Nationwide News. Question to Mr. Ascott. Well, first, good morning to you, sir.
Morning.
I know you would be briefed regarding this. Last you checked, how much money does GOG owe to JPS regarding streetlights?
The last time was just under $2 billion.
Do you have any idea what's being done in order to make good on that debt?
Well, as you might be aware, it's paid from property taxes. So we pretty much utilize based on the inflow, and so it's gauged according to the flows. So if we have good collection this year, then we'll be able to. But what I want to say to you is that we have an active program to try to address that matter. We intend, certainly by the end of the year, to begin the program of retrofitting the streetlights with LED, which will result in some 50–60% or more savings. And so a lot of what we do now really hinges on the success of and the speed at which we implement that program.
Okay, so apart from that program, basically what you're saying to me is that according to the amount of property taxes we take in, it will determine how quickly we speaking GOG, are able to make good on the debt to JPS?
Yes, as far as the streetlights are concerned.
Okay, you may have heard, you may not have heard, the president and CEO of the public service company, the Jamaica Public Service Company, Kelly Tomlin, she suggested yesterday that the company could get tough on GOG regarding cutting off streetlights because, in her own words, her biggest consumer, being the government of Jamaica, does not like to pay its bills. That falls under your portfolio, sir, streetlight business. I'd like your response to that, the threat or the prospect of streetlights being cut due to the debt.
You know, I think that's a disingenuous comment. The government likes to pay its bills. It's a question of affordability at the time. So, I mean, you know, we are committed to pay our bills, and in fact, we'd like to get rid of the JPS arrears. Unfortunately, because of the delinquency status of the payment of property taxes, we are not in a position to do so. But I can assure you, once the funds are in place, then we'll be happy to liquidate all outstanding arrears. There are, of course, some issues with the JPS. As you will know, many lights are not working. Many sections of the corporate area are totally in darkness. And they send us a flat rate that we pay every month, whether the lights work or not. Those are some of the ton issues that we have been trying to work with the MOU to resolve. So it's not a one-way street. I am not convinced. In fact, we have in-house figures that say that somewhere in the region of 20% of the lights are not working. And so it's an ongoing debate and discussion with the JPS that over the past maybe 4 or 5 years, maybe you owe us. But, you know, still we are where we are, and we intend to liquidate it as soon as we can.
I mean, from her perspective, Ms. Tomlin would have looked at her figures and seen who is the biggest debtor, so to speak. You use the word disingenuous. You don't think that's a bit strong?
No, because you say the government don't like to pay. That's what I'm alluding to. That's what you said. I didn't see your quote, so maybe I'm just assuming that what you're saying is correct.
She did say that. You'll hear it later.
Okay.
What sort of dialogue is taking place with the public service company regarding this situation?
Yeah, just 3 weeks ago, I had a meeting. I was present with the Mrs. Tomlin and the JPS top management to look at the way forward in terms of how we are dealing with the JPS program of replacement of street lights and so on. So we are pretty much, we have a consensus, I would say, in terms of going forward, and we intend that to implement our program as quickly as we can. If we can get through the procurement process and so on, then we'll be well on the way to try to alleviate the problem and, of course, to save the country by the foreign exchange and reduce our carbon footprint.
Okay. And finally, on this issue regarding the prospect of streetlights being cut, is it a situation where, given that public pronouncement by the principal of JPS, GOG would engage in some sort of consultation regarding this matter to avert this possible threat of lights being cut or bills, that sort of thing?
Okay. Essentially, remember now, JPS, government also owns 20% of JPS. And therefore, we are a partner, or we're a big consumer. And we're in constant dialogue to find a resolution to these problems.
All right, fine. I'm going to hand over to my colleague. I have a couple more for your Minister Ascot, but I'm going to give my...
All right, Andre Jebinson, please, and then we come to you.
Yeah, my question is for Mr. Ascot. Sir, yesterday you attempted to debate in Parliament a bill related to the Portmore Municipal Council. The opposition objected to that, and that was to validate some of the decisions taken by the acting mayor, who is currently operating, you could say, outside of the law as of July 8th. What will take place between now and the time that you actually debate that bill?
Okay. What the JP objected to was the tabling and the discussion on Tuesday. However, there is consensus going forward, and we expect the debate to take place next week, Tuesday. In the meantime, I would seek to get advice from our lawyers in terms of whether or not the mayor would still be in a position to continue to exercise the authority between now and then. So pretty much I would say that I would probably advise him to just be cautious in terms of what documents are signed between now and then until we at least get the bill. But once the bill is tabled, it expresses our intention of what is to be done, to indemnify and to validate some of the actions, and also to make some adjustments. And as I said, there has been some discussion with the JLP about the matter, and so there we have some consensus going forward, so I don't anticipate any problems.
Yeah, but how would you reach that decision if the JLP's position is that an election should be called immediately, or should have been called months ago, to replace Mr. Lee?
Well, put it this way, the consensus was arrived at some time ago between recognizing the cost associated with an election, the proximity to the next election, and therefore at this time of economic difficulty, to run an election across 3 constituencies and many divisions, and to within a year's time have another election would not be really in the interest of the taxpayers of the country.
Balfour, let me see if anybody who hasn't had a question. All right, Balfour, you had a question? The mic is behind you. No, man, go ahead.
Scott was on before, but this one... All right, let me ask you the one I was going to ask first. I remember you were saying something about the street lights. You didn't tell us... You told us that currently you're owed, what, $2 billion?
Yeah, about.
But how much more was it before you had made some payments?
We made just over $1 billion recently. It was heading towards $3 billion. We paid in just about $1 billion, or marginally more about that recently.
So do you have any concern that the JPS might be playing some game by not fixing a lot of these lights because they're not being paid?
Well, you know, we raised it. They didn't say that they were, they said that was to do with the personnel to be deployed and so on. But I'm still concerned that so much of the country is out of light, because yeah, we might pay late, but we will pay. And therefore, you know, we had strong words with them about just trying to, because the lighting is part of our security apparatus, and the citizens feel comfortable with their lights. So we're uncomfortable. I've seen where they have stepped up since that meeting. The repairs is not where we want it to be, but certainly we hope that by a combination of their work and our program going forward, we'll be able to at least have proper lighting in the country.
Yes, sir. And on the bill dealing with the Portmore situation with the Deputy Mayor, apart from the fact that you're trying to indemnify and validate his actions up to yesterday, I think you're also proposing some changes to the law that will keep him in office until there's an election. Isn't that so?
Essentially, yes. Yeah.
So would that be a change to the Municipalities Act? Is that what you're amending?
There are some changes, and I can tell you that many of the concerns that we have taken into consideration in this bill came out of consultation of the citizens of Portmore. So they have been demanding, for example, the position of the mayor to have an original and casting vote. The issue of the two councillors that sit currently now in St. Catherine who are right to be in the Portmore municipality. So those concerns expressed by the citizens coming out of those consultations have been taken into account in this bill.
Yeah, and just one last thing, so how you propose to address that issue with the two councillors that cannot sit on the Portmore?
Okay. Essentially, what we are doing is now to allow them to sit now, once the bill is approved in Parliament. But the other issue of the boundary adjustment will be done through the EOJ in the regular way as implied, request to be done by the EOJ. Yes, we have resolved that. We have resolved that issue. I think we pretty much understand each other now.
Andre, you had another question?
Yeah, Mr. Arscott, I know that Mr. Fagan addressed this in his sectoral presentation, but can you give us an update on what has been done since the report that the Auditor General produced on the fire department was made public?
Well, you know, funny you ask that question. We have a meeting scheduled for today at 1 o'clock to just to see precisely what are the needs, the emergency needs of the fire service, and what we can do to alleviate them. You are well aware of the state of fires, and would like to just use this opportunity to appeal to Jamaicans to just stop. You cannot be careless with fires. I mean, it is the dry season now. The place is tinder dry, and any spark can create a major fire. So the fire brigade has a number of units that are down that we expect to be up. 3 new units are here, and I expect them to be and should be in commission this week. And so we are looking at alternative ways, or we can probably quickly procure additional units from overseas to pretty much help us to get this fire brigade where it ought to be. So that is it's a big concern to me, certainly, that the fire brigade is not at an optimum level, but we must recognize the financial constraint, and I must commend the men and women of the fire service for their hard work and to subdue what they have. In fact, I just want to say that I had omitted to mention that the United States Southern Command had donated some equipment to the fire service, including some flotation devices and so on, and so I express our thanks for that gift to the fire brigade.
Yes, sir, we recognize the economic climate, but one of the things she pointed out in the report was that the fire stations are not using their logs to determine whether they're actually arriving on time for fires, which is something that you don't necessarily need financial resources to do. Have you met with the fire department, and have you expressed your disappointment or your feeling towards them for that?
So, well, I'd like to tell you that a lot of that information you got was done by the firemen themselves, doing their own evaluation, and you know, so it is part of their own review that was made available, that was published in that way. So they are taking steps to deal with those matters that came up, and they do their own internal review that throw up some of these things, and they assure me that they are making every effort to correct them.
One more. There's currently not a fireboat on the north coast or any other coast. Is there any immediate plan to have one, at least in the tourism capital?
Okay, we have one currently, which is not really up to. It's quite old. And when we procured it many years ago, it was not new either. These fireboats come at tremendous cost. There are some assets in Jamaica that we have been utilizing. They have not been utilized because there was no fire really. But the modern ships come with quite sophisticated equipment on board to be able to deal with their own fires. Nevertheless, that we continue to evaluate to see where we can procure a boat, because it's we're an island and we are surrounded by water, and therefore it is useful to have that capability. But we have some MOUs in place with Port Authority to utilize what they have, and I'm sure that once the funds become available, or we can find a generous donor, we'll be we'll be happy to receive a fireboat. And in fact, we're in discussion with I think we are trying to see what can be done in that regard.
Abko?
On that point, Minister, just generally, briefly, what's your own assessment of the state of the fire service at this point in time?
My own personal assessment?
Yeah.
If you speak to me this afternoon, after I could tell you. As I said before, I'm not happy really. I mean, you know, I know, for example, the conditions have been in some of the stations, and some of the situations are not appropriate. We are spending some money to upgrade some of them. Sablamar, Montego Bay, Port Royal. We retrofitted some that had asbestos in them, and we're working one in St. Mary. So we are actively doing work to upgrade, and we are going to create a station in Westmoreland, in the hills. We're getting some donation from the Japanese government to help with the fire hydrants, and so there are active steps being taken, and I certainly would like to see that we rapidly advance in that direction.
I tell you why I ask. When the AG's report came out regarding no fireboats at certain critical locations, the slow response time, absence of fire trucks at certain locations, fire trucks not working, it painted a poor picture regarding the state of the fire service. And I was surprised, and I tell you why. I know your boss, the Prime Minister, a few years ago took a strong stance in relation to the fire service, and then now the administration is in office, and I see this report regarding suggesting a not so flattering picture, and it creates a perception that perhaps the administration has neglected, it's not a conclusion, it's a perception, neglected the fire service, and I'm surprised at that. So I wanted to respond to that perception.
Alright, really, you know, I was trying to avoid that kind of a question thing. But since you asked me, I might as well tell you. That report is essentially dated. Most of it was really for part of most of the previous administration. Secondly, that the previous administration did not buy one single fire unit in the country. What we have now, the last time fire units, new units came to Jamaica, prior to a couple of weeks ago when these new ones came, was 2006, right? So yes, we are concerned about it, and we are doing about we are going to order some additional units. One is budgeted for in the current budget, and we have an active program to rapidly assist the fire brigade to strengthen it and to put it where it ought to be.
Andre?
Question for you, Ms. Faulkner. Can you confirm whether reports that the U.S. government has invoked provisions of the Lay Act, can you confirm whether that is in fact true?
No, I can't confirm that. I'm not aware of that, no.
So there has not been any communication between the Jamaican government and the U.S. government re an embargo on military material and equipment?
Not as far as I know. We sat at Cabinet on Monday and we received no such report.
Has the government had any request from the U.S. government for the removal of Police Commissioner Owen Ellington from office?
As I said last week, I would not be able to comment on those things. Those things did not come to the Cabinet. I report on what happens in the Cabinet. What we received at Cabinet in terms of a report was that the commissioner resigned and that the reasons he gave for his resignation. We have received no report of any request from the United States for his removal. We have not received any formal report at the Cabinet level.
Has the U.S. government expressed any reservations about breaches of human rights, whether during the 2010 West Kingston incursion or alleged police killings in Clarendon?
I am not aware of those, no. And I believe, though, those would rightly go to the Minister of National Security, because the Cabinet does not appoint the police commissioner. He is appointed by the Police Services Commission. I believe if there are concerns, they would go to the Minister of National Security, and he would deal with those concerns. And as far as I know, he has not received anything, any formal complaint about the commissioner.
As spokesperson for the government, though, even if the issue was not discussed at Cabinet, has the issue been discussed in government, generally speaking?
I am reporting about what happens at the Cabinet here, and I would not speak about informal discussions that we have. I don't think that would be appropriate.
Well, I'm not talking about informal discussions. I'm talking about formal discussions, because if there
But I already told you that there were no formal discussions.
You're talking about at the Cabinet level, but I'm asking
matter.
about at the government level.
I don't know. I also said to you that rightly that would be a matter for his minister.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask.
Can you allow Abko? He wants a follow-up.
Sure.
Is your question a follow-up?
It's a follow-up.
Okay, go ahead.
To my senior colleague.
That's always a good thing to do, Abko. Sure, Balfour. Mike.
Is it conceivable that with the government already setting up a commission of inquiry into the West Kingston situation, and with the court dealing with the issue of the police killings, the alleged police killings, that the government could be told by the American government that they have reached a judgment and certain action should be taken?
I can't speculate, you know. I don't have the luxury of speculation at this table at all. When I speak to you, I want to speak to you with authority, and if I don't have the information, the formal information, I cannot say to you, my colleagues, that this is it, because when I talk to you, I want it to be concrete.
No, I'm not saying you have
I can't go off speculation.
But I am saying as a journalist, I don't
but
see
you
where
are
that is
asking
possible.
me
I'm
to
asking you as a minister.
when you're saying, is it possible, Balfour, you're asking me to speculate, and I can't do that. You know I can't do that. Good try, though. Africa, let me hear you ask me to speculate again.
I'm not asking to speculate, I'm not asking about Ellington in particular. But as the information minister who speaks on behalf of the government, cabinet, had there been an embargo regarding arms, the U.S. imposed an embargo on Jamaica, reasonably you would expect such a matter to be discussed or mentioned at cabinet, eh?
I'm sure it would come there, but I have not seen anything.
Okay,
There no such. If there was such an embargo, I would imagine that it would be a matter that would be tabled there. We had a cabinet meeting on Monday. There was no such matter reported to the cabinet.
Okay, on Wednesday, no, today's Wednesday, on Tuesday, I believe, there was a report on TV indicating, asserting several times the U.S. has imposed an arms embargo on Jamaica. Just to be absolutely clear, as Minister of Information, Chief Spokesperson for the Cabinet, you are saying you are not aware of that?
It did not come to the Cabinet.
Sorry, but Minister, with all that is out there in the public domain, can we expect a statement from the government saying that this is so or this is not so? Because certainly,
if that has in fact happened, I am sure that the Minister of National Security at the appropriate time, will inform the cabinet and will inform the nation. I am not aware that any such thing has occurred, and I think we have to be careful. I said this last week, there are many rumors swirling, and when what happened last week, we had a commissioner of police who resigned, who retired, went into early retirement, and I think because of that, people want to speculate as to the reasons, and the reasons are so varied. I believe we need to be careful. Our government certainly has nothing to hide. If there are issues, there are processes, there are procedures, we have bilateral arrangements, and I believe at the appropriate time, if there was in fact such an action taken, the government of Jamaica will make public, the cabinet of Jamaica will be briefed, and the government of Jamaica will make public whatever those are.
Yes, Minister, I've heard you say time and again regarding speculation and the media being careful, but I'm constrained to say, as a former journalist, you would appreciate that one of the best ways of clearing up speculation is for the media to ask the persons in the know.
And I agree with you, but I can't tell you what I don't know, Abka. If I knew and if I got information, I would gladly give you. I think you should know that already.
Okay, I just been clear that we're not perpetuating speculation, we're trying to clear up speculation.
Yes. All right, thank you. Any other question? All right, Balfour, we're taking the final question from you. Yes. Finally, nothing about disaster, guys.
Oh, it's not disaster, really. I'm thinking about the major infrastructure development. We had expected it from last year, and it seems that there's something delaying the full program going into effect. I wanted to just tell us what is the position.
Part 1 start with the Chief program.
That's the one with the MPs.
Yes.
But that's all we know about that.
Yeah, that is ongoing. The other section of it will get going now. The design work are being in place, are being surveys on some of the roads that will be taking place. A matter of fact, tenders are out for some of the bridges. On the bridges, we are hoping that maybe by September we'll have a full rollout of the program.
One of the things that there's some speculation out there that there is some money going to the local contractors that creating a problem, some $1.5 billion. Do you know anything about that?
The first time hearing about that.
No, I think
So all the JDIP money has been... This is from JDIP?
Oh, from JDIP?
Yes. Some outstanding sums owed from JDIP.
If it, I believe that was something else you're asking me about. JDIP.
Yes, I think there's some outstanding.
There is some discussion, and I know that a meeting is scheduled for the 17th with Minister.
All right, thank you, Balfour. Thanks, everyone. Have a great day and a great rest of the week. Thank you very much. And no speculation. Yes.
Brought to you by Telligence Inc. Telligence Inc.,